Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. Welcome to this week's episode of Phone Dog Live, our live vodcast here on Ustream. Welcome to the live show. I'm glad everyone could be here. If you were watching live, thanks again for being here. I just said that. What I meant to say was feel free to join the chat and have a nice little conversation. If you're watching the recording of this on YouTube, as always, check out the description below the video because I will have a timeline of all of the topics that we are going to talk about so that you can kind of skip around. Although I'm just going to warn you, we don't have that many topics. It's really just like one or two big topics, and it's going to take up pretty much the whole show. But I'll still keep it kind of detailed and let you know where we're at, so you can still use a timeline. Obviously, the big news is Windows Phone. Microsoft announced that this week, and it was, it's a pretty big announcement because, as we suspected, this Windows Phone 8 is actually the update. It was supposed to be a pretty big update, and it was. It added a lot of new features. And so Microsoft highlighted 8, get it? Because it's Windows Phone 8, yeah. That they highlighted 8 aspects of the new version of this operating system. And there's some pretty cool features, some really necessary additions, and then some that are like, oh, that's kind of cool. Not really sure if I'll use that. So I did a recap video. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch it, but I did do a recap video where I talked about all the new features and just kind of ran through them really quickly in about 7 minutes. So if you want to watch that video just to kind of see a detailed overview or a quick overview of all of these new features, and then of course we're going to go over them again here, and then I'll kind of get a chance to share my thoughts because, as you guys know, I use Windows Phone. I actually kind of have a funny story, an ironic story about this whole situation, but I'll let you know after I discuss everything. So as you know, I use Windows Phone in addition to my Android phone that I carry around. Windows Phone is kind of like my operating system of choice. I used Android for a long time, and I kind of just wanted to try something new, and I ended up really liking it. So for me, this is kind of exciting because it's something that I use on a daily basis, and so some of the things, I'm kind of like, oh, that's going to be nice to have. I've been waiting for that for the past year, so it'll be nice to have that feature. And then anyway, so I get to share my thoughts on that. I think the biggest new features with this update is really with hardware. So there's now support for multi-core processors. The cool thing about this is that it's not just dual-core processors, but quad-core processors. Microsoft says theoretically up to 64 cores if that's what you wanted to have. Now, that's kind of like overkill because we don't have phones with 64 cores. Quad-core is about as high as we go right now. But the point is that this isn't just dual-core process. It's not just support for dual-core processors. It is quad-core processors, and then once we do start using more cores, Windows Phone will be able to handle that. It won't, we won't need another update. Obviously, they will have other updates, but it'll be able to support as many cores as we have. But the big thing is just dual-core processors. In fact, after Windows Phone 8 was announced, we heard rumors about an HTC phone. We actually heard about 3 HTC phones: the HTC Accord, the Rio, and the Zenith. And the Zenith is the best one, and it has a quad-core processor. So, whenever I first, at least for me personally, when I first heard, the announcements of Windows Phone 8, Microsoft kind of made it sound like they were really just focusing on dual-core processors because they said that their reference processor was the Snapdragon S4 processor, which, as you know, is a dual-core processor. So I was like, well, I kind of wanted to see quad-core processors, but apparently there are also, reference hardware points from Microsoft for a quad-core processor. So if this rumor is true about the HTC Zenith, we should see that sometime later on this year. But multi-core processors, also displays, there's now support for 3 resolutions: WVGA, WXGA, and also HD displays, 720p HD displays. Which is obviously cool. I don't have to explain why that's great. I think right now the standard high-end Windows Phone device has a 480 by 800 display. we've got some pretty cool display technology there. You have some with a super AMOLED display. The Nokia phones have clear black technology. There's some pretty cool display technology, but the resolution is still pretty low. And the display technology is nice, but it's only part of the picture, and so no pun intended. But the resolution is also important. So having HD displays, that'd really be nice. We're starting to see phones with like full 1080p displays, but those are really like the maxed out high-end Android phones, and so I think 720p I think we'll be able to keep up with with most of the mainstream phones that are coming out on the market. And then the cool thing about I didn't get a chance to talk about this in the recap video. This is why this is nice. I have an entire hour to talk about it, so I can share every little detail. No, we're not going to talk about it for an hour. But one of the nice things about the support for these three resolutions is that they all have very similar aspect ratios, 15:9, and then for the 720p display, it's going to be 16:9. So the great thing about this is that developers won't have to do anything to their apps to make them fit these new display resolutions, or to make them, they won't have to make them fit several different resolutions, because the aspect ratio is so similar. Existing apps, it's going to be a cinch. There's not going to be, very much differentiation there. The phone will automatically make it work, and it'll look great. And then for new apps, they can just make one, and the phone will make it fit, whether it's 15:9 or 16:9. It's not that much difference anyway, so it'll still look good. That's great for developers. It's also great for consumers, though, because it means that all apps will look good. All apps will be compatible. You don't have to worry about, is it compatible with my phone or my screen resolution. So, but HD display support, micro SD card support or SD card support. This is also, I should have done my hair in a faux hawk. Actually, I did my hair in a mohawk one time, just for fun. Like, I would never wear it because it wasn't very feminine, but it was just, like, everyone's wanted to try a mohawk. I mean, that's just, you may not admit that, but deep down, you've always wanted to try a mohawk. And, being a girl, like, I always had long hair, and I loved the long hair, but anyway, that's an entirely different story. But I actually did try a mohawk, and it was fun, but I didn't go out in public because, anyway, let's get back on topic. Okay, SD card support. This is a big one because originally Windows Phone kind of supported micro SD cards. The problem was that it had to be a card from the manufacturer. It had to ship with the phone, and you couldn't take it out and use it with another phone. You couldn't buy a card and use it with that phone. It had to be a card from the manufacturer made for that phone, and that was it. There was no switching around, and it caused so many problems that I think there was one phone, I think Samsung made a phone that had a micro SD card slot, but it caused so many problems that after that, most manufacturers just ditched it completely because it just wasn't worth it. So, but now that won't be a problem. There is full micro SD card support, so you'll be able to you'll have expandable memory. But those are kind of the big things. Those are the things that everyone really wanted. Multi-core processors, better displays, and expandable memory. And starting with Windows Phone 8, we'll finally get that. And then, so along with that, there's also some pretty cool software features and enhancements. For example, Wallet. Let me see if I can get a quick picture on screen for you guys of what Wallet will look like. Hold on. Yeah, okay. So this is the Wallet app, and these are all of the screens, as you can see, spread out, but you're going to slide through each screen. So when you open it, you can see all of your cards and memberships. You can see here it has American Airlines, Chase, Fandango, and Groupon. So it's not just credit cards. It can be like other memberships, really just any sort of membership money card. You can store them here. And so, the obvious uses for this would be payments. Like the phones will support NFC, and so you can make mobile payments, like with Google Wallet. But another cool aspect of this is that you'll be able to see detailed account information about that card, including transactions. You'll be able to see, how much money is in there. You'll be able to make transactions. And one of the reasons why this is cool, and I can tell you this, after using Windows Phone, one of the nice things about Windows Phone is that there's a lot of functionality built into the operating system that negates the need for several apps. For example, Local Scout. Local Scout kind of takes away the need for other apps like Yelp or, some of these apps that will tell you restaurants or, things to do in your area. Local Scout kind of helps you to do that. Bing Vision takes away the need for a barcode scanner. There's other one that's kind of like Shazam. It identifies songs. There's a lot of features built into the OS that negates the need for a lot of apps, which is really nice because one, there aren't a lot of, there's now 100,000 apps, but there was a time when there weren't a lot of apps, and so it was nice to not have to worry about that. It's already built in. But also, too, like, you don't have to go hunting through the marketplace. It's already there. You don't have to worry about it. Wallet is a nice extension of that idea because, for example, like right now there's no Chase app, and, Microsoft said that there is going to be a Chase app later on this year, but say for example, it never came out and I bank with Chase, I would like to have a Chase app. But with Wallet, now I don't have to have an app for my specific bank because built into the operating system is a hub that really has everything there. So Wallet is, that's kind of a design theory of Windows Phone that I don't know if a lot of people know about. And the Wallet hub is a nice extension of that. Another, really, probably one of the key features is the start screen. And this is kind of an area that's caused a lot of dissension for people because on the one hand, it's really nice now that we can customize it more. So a couple of examples of exactly, what you can do with the new start screen. You can see there's now 3 tile sizes. So you have the square, you have the rectangle, and then you have an even smaller square that's about 1/4 the size of the normal square that we have now. You can choose which size to use. You can resize. The gap on the right side is gone. You still have the list to the right with all of your apps. But anyway, you get the picture. You have more sizes. And in a way, this is really awesome because, I've, wanted this for a long time. I wish I could resize some of these apps. I wish I could choose what size. Messaging is a perfect example. Email. Aaron talks about this a lot. Messaging, I'd like to have a big tile so that I can see messages, with email so I can see emails. And it makes sense. Like, why would that not be, whereas pictures is a full-size tile. And I'm like, I don't want to see cascading pictures. I don't care. I'll go to my gallery if I want to see that. So it was strange that it wasn't a feature, but it is now. So it's really nice. But the downside is that with all these different sizes, and now that there's even more space, you can have even more tiles. It kind of looks cluttered, and I've heard a lot of people say that, and I personally agree. It does look cluttered. Then again, the good thing is that you don't have to use that smaller tile size. Personally, I probably won't, because that's one of the things that adds to it looking cluttered, is just the fact that having so many different sizes and so many different tiles is a little too much. Personally, I probably won't use that small tile size, and I think that will really cut down on how cluttered it looks. But that's, I'll have to see it in person. I don't really know. I'm thinking that's an easy fix, but, at least I'm hoping it is. Not having that gap on the right, I personally liked the gap. I thought it was a nice, kind of minimalistic, modern type artistic thing, like a random gap. I don't know. But I can understand, wanting to take full advantage of the home screen. Updates to Internet Explorer, it's now going to be IE 10, that will be integrated. Nokia Maps is now the first-party maps application, so turn-by-turn navigation is now included, which is huge, and it's about time. I always hated that turn-by-turn navigation was included, and it's one of the things I always rag on iOS for not having no turn-by-turn navigation. I thought it was ridiculous, and I always hated the fact that Windows Phone didn't have it either. So now it does. I think it's a little late, but at least it's there now. There's some new enterprise features. Now Skype is another one that we kind of knew about because Microsoft bought Skype, and so we were like, eventually, I mean, it only makes sense to eventually have Skype integration, and but then we heard that it's not actually going to be integrated; it's just going to be an app, and so like when you close the app, the call ends because the app is closed, and it just seemed kind of dumb the way that we heard Microsoft was going to do it. But actually, the way they did it really makes sense and is kind of a unique way of looking at it. Basically, it's not necessarily Skype integration, so that this might have been where those rumors came from, because it's not only Skype integration, but it's any VoIP application, including Skype, but really any voice over IP application. Once it's downloaded, it then becomes integrated into the operating system. So you can use that to make a call, and it functions as a normal phone call. When someone calls you using that account or that app, it functions like a normal phone call, and so it does become integrated into the operating system. But the nice thing is that it's not just Skype; it's any voice over IP application. So if you don't use Skype, or if you like something else, then you can use that, which is nice. I mean, not everyone wants to use just one app or just one service, and so having the choice. Microsoft also announced this an interesting way of doing voice. What's the word I'm looking for? Speech controls. An interesting way of integrating speech controls. So the way it's done is not quite like okay. So the iPhone has Siri, and it's pretty simple. It's a part of the operating system. You push the button, Siri talks to you. She'll open apps, or she'll just tell you information, whatever you want to know. She'll pull it from other apps, but it's really the phone that is that you're talking to. Same thing with S Voice on the Galaxy S3. It's it's if you're talking to the phone. I mean, it may pull it from other apps or other other parts of the internet, but it's really the phone. But the way that Microsoft did it is it's kind of interesting, and I'm not really sure if it's going to work, but again, I'm going to have to try it out. Basically, Microsoft has developed standard APIs for speech recognition, and so any developer can take advantage of and use those speech APIs in their app. Now, the catch is that the developer has to use it. Like, this isn't part of the phone. I mean, Windows Phone, you can hold down the home button and it has speech functionality. You can say, call somebody, but I mean, it's pretty basic, like what every phone has had for the past decade. But this, this special functionality is with each app, and the developer has to build that in. So if developers don't use it, then it's not going to be there. Which, I don't know, some people couldn't care less. Personally, I don't even know if I would use this very much because, they had a demo on stage of communicating with an app, and he was saying it was audible, so it was, reading a book to him, and he would say play or pause or, read this book, which is nifty and like kind of cool, but I'm like, why not just tap the screen and, tap play? I guess it's a little more eyes free. You don't have to look that much. You can just press the button. But really, I mean, you have to look at the phone anyway to press the button. I don't know, to me, it just seems easier to just tap the screen instead of holding, waiting, saying, waiting for it to respond, and then performing that action. I think it would just be so much easier to use the screen. But you could say the same thing about Siri, and apparently people love that. So I don't know. I'm going to have to wait again for that one to see. But those are some of the basic, or the features, the aspects that Microsoft really focused on, and I think a lot of them are great. And it's nothing surprising, like things like the Wallet Hub, the voice functions, some of those we weren't like really expecting, but it's a really good update, and it's very timely. I think it's kind of just an update that Windows Phone needed, and now that it's here, we can like move on and see how it does with all these things. The problem is, and this is where a lot of people get upset, is that current Windows Phone devices will not be upgraded to Windows Phone 8, which basically sucks. It just bites. I mean, it really bites. because, and I wrote an article about this. I don't know if it's actually going to be published on PhoneDog because I haven't gotten approval from Aaron yet because he's really busy. But, basically explaining why current Windows Phone devices will not get Windows Phone 8, because it does suck. I have a Windows Phone device. This is one of the reasons why I haven't upgraded yet, despite my phone being ages old. I haven't upgraded because I'm like, why bother? It's not going to get the update anyway. And, I hate fragmentation. You guys know I talk about Android fragmentation. I've started talking about iOS, its fragmentation now with Siri only being on one phone, or, turn by turn only being on, two devices. I hate fragmentation, and so whenever this came up, I was like, no, do not do this, Microsoft, please. But there's actually some good reasons, and it doesn't change the fact that it sucks and that I really wish it wasn't like this. But, I mean, I can kind of understand, and when you consider the reasons, it's definitely not as unreasonable as Apple is being, and it's definitely not as bad and just completely stupid as Android's fragmentation problem is. So basically, first, just think about some of the biggest new features of Windows Phone 8. Okay, you've got support for multi-core processors, HD displays, and NFC. Those are obviously not really features that you can just put out an update for. I mean, dual-core processors, unless Microsoft is just going to magically force a dual-core processor into your phone, you don't really need the update. Same thing with SD card support. That's a software thing, but most Windows Phone devices don't have SD card slots anyway, so again, it would be pointless. Also, the Wallet Hub. I would like to have the Wallet Hub, even though most Windows Phone devices do not have NFC, or all Windows Phone devices do not have NFC support. So, that hub is only half as useful without NFC, but I would still like to have that hub. That being said, I can kind of understand, okay, if you don't have NFC, then the hub is kind of pointless. So, you can kind of see some of the biggest features. It's just an update wouldn't help. It's hardware things. HD displays, it's a hardware thing, and so the update just wouldn't help. However, there's a bigger reason for it. It's actually more below the surface and not quite just the features, but really a lot of changes that Microsoft made below the surface. So Microsoft explained that Windows Phone 8 actually shares the same core technologies as Windows 8. So they've switched over to the NT kernel. So the kernel is different, the drivers, the file system, everything now is shared with Windows 8, which means that it's completely different. I mean, it's not really just an update to Windows Phone. It's basically redesigning what makes the OS. The native code is just completely different. And explaining this in this article I was working on, it's almost as big of an update as Windows Phone 7 was coming from Windows Mobile 6.5. Obviously it's, on the surface it looks exactly the same, but it's almost a completely new operating system, even though it functions in exactly the same way. The way that it functions, the reason it functions that way is completely different. Just the way that Windows Phone 7 was basically a ground-up revision. It was not just an update to Windows Mobile. It was a completely new OS. And so Windows Phone 8 is kind of similar. Even with gaming development is going to see a huge change. Now with DirectX being the basis for native game development, it's going to be completely different. There's benefits. Games are going to be a lot better. I mean, DirectX is used in Xbox, hence the name Xbox. So the games are now going to be much better. Again, we have support now for multi-core processors and HD displays. So there's benefits to this. It's a necessary thing. I get why Microsoft does it or why they decided to do it, but it still just really sucks. But that's why current Windows Phone devices will not be updated to Windows Phone 8. The good news is that this should be the only time this happens. I hope this is the only time Microsoft pulls something like this, because if they do it again, well, I don't really have anywhere to go because Android is fragmented too. So, I mean, I don't really want to wait 6 months for an update that I may or may not get. So I really don't know where I would go, but I would be very upset. But I think it is going to be just a one-time thing because because of what it is, switching the kernel and the drivers to share all of its core technologies with Windows 8, that's like a one-time thing. I don't see that kind of move happening ever again, or at least not for a long time. So that's the good news, but still, yeah, current Windows Phone devices will not get Windows Phone 8. You will get, Microsoft did say that current Windows phones, devices, handsets, will get an update called Windows Phone 7.8, and that will have, so far as we know, the new start screen. And I think that's it. They didn't detail anything else. It could come with the Wallet Hub, but I think they were pretty clear that it's just the new start screen. So, when you think about it, I mean, outside of the hardware updates, the multi-core processors and all that, the start screen is really the thing that everyone wants anyway. So at least we'll have that. But I am pretty disappointed. But that's Windows Phone 8, and those are my thoughts. I'm looking forward to it. I want to tell you guys my really ironic story. And if you don't want to listen, well, if you're watching live, you have to listen. But if you're watching the recording, you can use the timeline. You can skip this. My really ironic story. So I use Windows Phone. And my phone is really old because, like I explained, I don't want to upgrade when it's not going to get an update anyway. But I happen to have the Lumia 710, and I was like, it's a kind of newer phone, and now that Windows Phone is going to be using Nokia Maps as its first-party Maps application, and the Lumia 710 is obviously a Nokia device, I was like, well, I could just switch, get a feel for Nokia Maps. And it'll just be nice to have a new phone. Even though the 710 isn't like an amazing phone, it's kind of just a nice upgrade just to have a new phone. And it was like a demo unit, so I was like, no one's using this anyway. But I had a SIM card, like a normal size SIM card, and the Lumia 710s took a micro SIM card. So I went to my store and I swapped out my SIM card for a micro SIM, and it was like really easy. Popped it in there. I'm like, yeah, I got a new phone. It's so awesome. It's not like that much better, but it's just cool having a new phone. I'm going to be able to try out Nokia Maps. There's now, Nokia is sending out this update that's actually available today that has some camera enhancements. Nokia is really taking care of its customers, even though they're not going to get Windows Phone 8. They're actually sending out a lot of updates and enhancements to Nokia Windows Phone devices. So I was like, this is going to be great. That was, I think, Tuesday or something. So Wednesday or yesterday, Aaron emails me and he says, I'm going to need you to send the Lumia 710 back. T-Mobile wants it back. And I'm just like, I just switched. Are you kidding me? I just started using that phone. I just swapped my SIM card for a micro SIM, which, I mean, it isn't a huge deal, but I'm like, what are the odds? I've had this phone for, I don't know 6 months, maybe not that long, but I've had it for a long time. Secret PR companies never ask for phones back. They just don't. So like the odds of them asking for this phone back, it's like, what are the odds? Remote, okay? I just started using it like 2 days before, and now they want it back. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. So anyway, I just shipped it back today, which is the day that Nokia sent out the update for its phones, and so I don't get to test that and use it, but, obviously T-Mobile wants it back, and we have to be good and keep our PR relationships all good and everything. So anyway, so I still have my old Windows Phone device, obviously. I mean, I still have it, but, I'm reluctant to switch out the micro SIM now for another SIM card. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm afraid they're going to think I'm crazy, or if maybe I'm just lazy. I don't know. I don't want to do it yet, because I think I'm just being stubborn, because I really wanted that phone. So now I'm just doing it just to pout. But anyway, so I still have the HTC One S, which you guys know when I did my sort of switching back to Android test, I was using the One S, and but it's a demo unit, so I was using the SIM card that it came with. But I'm like, well, I've got this micro SIM now. It's linked to my account. This uses a micro SIM card. Why don't I just put it in here, and I'll just start using this as my phone, and it'll be like a better test, since it'll actually be my phone, and so I'll be forced to use it. really, again, just an excuse to not switch out for another SIM card. So the ironic thing is that, I love Windows Phone, and obviously I like Android, but Windows Phone is my operating system of choice. And now this big update comes out, and I'm not even using Windows Phone. It's like the most ironic thing in the world. But anyway, I'll probably switch back eventually, or I'll just wait till this fall to get a Windows Phone 8 device. Anyway, so yeah, I'm back to the 1S. As you can see, I've been working on customizing it again. This is one of the reasons why for all the things that I love about Android, and the customization is great, I wish I had time to customize it, because I would do so much stuff, but I don't have time, and so it's more frustrating that I want to do so much with it, but I don't have time to. So, but I kind of started working on this sort of little design, and I downloaded this icon pack, and so obviously I'm not done, but you can kind of see basically what it looks like. I need one more shortcut here to finish off this row, and then I'm going to add a clock here. But anyway, this is what I'm doing. It kind of looks like Windows Phone, which is intentional. I'm like, if I'm not going to have Windows Phone, I'm going to make it look like Windows Phone, which is one of the nice things about Android, is that you can do that. But this icon pack that I downloaded, I don't know if you guys have any explanation for it. The coloring is off on the widgets. I don't know if you can tell, but it's supposed to be a solid color, and on the internet it looked great, and then I downloaded it and I extracted it, and now there's like color bars, and it's all screwed up. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know if you guys have any idea why it would be doing that. It was a .rar file, and so I downloaded 7-zipper, I think was the app, to extract it, but anyway. So that's the ironic story. Windows Phone 8 is out, and I'm not even on Windows Phone anymore. It's 4:35, and so let's see what else. Microsoft announced Surface, its new tablet, and it's pretty cool. It's like a computer. I mean, this is not like a tablet. It's a tablet. Obviously, it's a tablet, but it's not like an iPad tablet. It's like a computer in a tablet, which is basically Microsoft's whole thing about, hi, can you see this phone dog? Yes, I can. But I don't really read the comments because you guys are usually not really on topic at all, so it would just throw me off. So Microsoft's whole thing about tablets, and Steve Ballmer was once on All Things D. They interviewed him, and this was like, I don't know, probably a year and a half ago. I think it might have been right when the iPad first came out. And he was talking about tablets, and he explained that they feel that tablets are really made for computing, that you will have devices that are like mobile devices that are kind of limited, speaking of phones, Windows Phone, you will have devices like that, but their theory was that tablets were like portable computers, and so that's the way that they should stay. And if you want something that's just more mobile and just, kind of more limited, then get a device that's meant for that fits in your pocket. Because, if you think about a tablet, it doesn't fit in your pocket. It's more mobile than a desktop, but it's not that much more mobile than a laptop. So if you're essentially carrying around a light laptop, then why not just carry around a laptop? Because it's going to be a lot more functional. Like, that's kind of their theory. If you want something that's mobile, get something that fits in your pocket. Otherwise, get something that actually works, that actually does stuff. So essentially, Microsoft, from this interview, I got the feeling that they will never make tablets that are like the iPad or like Android tablets, which on the one hand is disappointing because I would love to have a Windows Phone tablet. However, as you can tell from the title, Windows Phone will never be on a tablet because it's Windows Phone. So Microsoft Surface really is part of that theory. It's a full-fledged computer tablet. It runs Windows 8. And Windows 8 has a new design. It's got this Metro design where the start screen looks a lot like Windows Phone. And there are apps that are designed for it that also have the Metro UI. They're very functional apps, a lot like desktop apps, but they have the Metro design. However, beneath the surface is, it's basically like Windows 7 or, Windows XP. I mean, it's like a desktop experience. Now, no one's really sure, like, okay, eventually, are we going to switch to everything being Metro? Like, is the idea to get developers to design Windows 8 desktop apps with the Metro UI, and then eventually they just completely make Windows completely Metro. I just said completely like twice. Make it completely Metro, even on the desktop, even including those apps like, PowerPoint and Word and all of those really deep computing apps. Make all of it Metro. Is that the idea? Or is it going to stay this way, like half desktop and half sort of Metro, and no one really knows what's going on, and it's really confusing? So no one's really sure like how that's going to work. A lot of it will depend on developers. Microsoft will have to get developers to think, to follow this, that desktop apps will now be also attractive on a tablet, and you will have to design it that way. So but that's the future. That's looking way into the future. Right now, Windows 8 is what it is. It's half Metro and it's half desktop, and I think it's going to confuse the heck out of a lot of people, but that's just me. The tablet itself is pretty awesome. Actually, I have pictures so I can show you. So you have Surface. This is what it looks like on the front. It's got a 10.6-inch clear type HD display. There's actually two versions. There's the Windows RT version, which is based on ARM architecture, and then you've got the Surface Pro, which uses Intel components. But they both have a 10.6-inch clear type HD display. The normal model is 9.3 millimeters thick. It comes, as you can see, it has a kickstand. Let me show you a picture of the back. So it has a kickstand, as you can see, which is like, okay, yay, kickstand. But it also comes with this touch cover, which is kind of interesting. And, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, like the iPad, how creative. But it's a little different. And again, going back to, Microsoft's whole philosophy about tablets. Again, when Steve Ballmer was talking about tablets in this interview, he talked about the iPad, and he mentioned the keyboard, how it's like pretty much impossible to type on the iPad. Despite what Apple says about how it's like the best typing experience ever, it's not. I mean, it's okay and it's doable, but it's like really not good for a lot of typing. And if you remember back when the iPhone was first announced back in 2007 or 2006, that was one of the things that Steve Ballmer made fun of, the fact that it didn't have a physical keyboard. So he said it's not going to be a very good email machine. He called it a machine. But it's not going to be a very good email machine because you can't type on a virtual keyboard. Now with phones, virtual keyboards have gotten better. So that was wrong. You can type on a virtual keyboard. But with tablets, it is more difficult. But the point is that Microsoft has always had this theory that virtual keyboards are just no good. And I think now that the Surface has come out, I think it kind of gives us a little insight into why they waited so long to make a tablet, because they didn't want to have a tablet with only a virtual keyboard, because to them it's just stupid. You just can't do it. And now that it reminds me of on Windows Phone, the virtual keyboard. It is one of the best virtual keyboards I have ever used. And I think it goes back to, again, their theory that virtual keyboards suck. And so I was down a phone, they were forced to have one, but they made sure it was the best one possible. And it really is, at least in my opinion, I think it's the best virtual keyboard. It really is. I mean, just don't even get me started, but it really is the best virtual keyboard I've ever used. So this touch cover goes back to that theory that virtual keyboards suck, especially on tablets. It's actually, so, it covers the tablet and it protects it, and yay, it's like the smart cover on the iPad. But it's actually a keyboard, so when you fold it down, it has touch-sensitive pads, I guess I'll say, on the actual touch cover, the back side of the cover. Now, they're not keys, they're not raised very much. I mean, they're slightly raised, but it's like a piece of a piece of cloth on top of another piece of cloth. Like it's really thin, but it's touch sensitive. And so you can type, according to them, it's better than an on-screen keyboard. You know, we'll have to see, but the whole point is that you can still have some semblance of a physical keyboard while still using a mobile product, a tablet. And so I think it's pretty smart. You know, I'm gonna have to see how it works. But to me, you know, it's just interesting kind of seeing Microsoft's whole theory throughout this whole thing that, you know, they've never really agreed with Apple in terms of tablets. They've always felt that tablets should be mobile computers, because when you think about it, that's what they are. They're mobile computers. They're as big as a computer. They're, you know, just a little bit thinner than computers. You're basically carrying around a laptop. And so, you know, they wanted to make a tablet like that. And so Surface, you know, again, why it took so long is they wanted to have one that was basically like a mobile computer. Same thing with the touch cover. They didn't want to have one without a physical keyboard because they hate virtual keyboards. And now you can kind of see and follow their thinking. It's pretty interesting. So all of that being said, if the price is wrong, it's gonna die. It's dead on arrival. If the price is over, you know, $500-600, if it costs a lot more than the iPad, it's dead. Because no matter how good their idea is, or how much they've thought about it, or how much it makes sense, if the price is wrong, it's dead. And that's just basically all there is to it. Now, there's been a lot of prices kicked around. We've heard that the Windows RT model could be $599. We've heard that the Pro model could be $999. That's kind of expensive. Now, the thing with the Pro model being $1,000, it's got a little bit more to it. You know, it's got USB 3.0, mini display port, 64 gigabytes or 128 gigabytes of internal memory. It's got a little more to it, so it's a lot more like a desktop. And so you're like, okay, $1,000, whatever. It's Pro. And anytime you slap Pro on anything, you automatically charge like $200 more. The Windows RT version, $599, not bad. I mean, it's more than the base model of the iPad, but it's not more than the most expensive iPad. I mean, it's really in the middle there, which is good, because making it the price of the base model, $500, that would be tough, because it really is like a mobile computer. You've got a full operating system. You've got a 10-inch display. You've got all, you know, micro SD, USB 2.0, micro HD port. You've got all this stuff in it. It would be difficult to make that $500. So, you know, $599, I think that's a good price. The $999 version, I don't know if that'll sell too much, but at least those are the rumor prices. That's Microsoft Surface, and I think it's great. I'm going to have to use it. It might not be for me personally. I've kind of gotten to the point where I do just want a tablet for like gaming and web browsing, and I don't really need it for hardcore stuff. Like if I want something for hardcore work, I'll just use a laptop. But then again, it basically is a laptop. So I don't know. I'm kind of like going back and forth. I'll have to wait until it comes out, and I'll see then. Release will be around the same time as Windows 8, which is probably sometime this fall. Along with Windows Phone 8, again sometime this fall. And that's the news. So let's get on to the open Q&A. I know that was an abrupt stop, but I wanted to make sure we got into the open Q&A. So there it is. That's the news. Feel free to ask your questions. If there's something that you want me to expound upon, I will. I did have some stuff about Jelly Bean, the Nokia 808 PureView. Aaron has posted his video reviews for the AT&T and Sprint versions of the Galaxy S3, so you can watch those. They're kind of like condensed versions of the review. They're only about 8 minutes long, because all of these Galaxy S3s are exactly alike. It's not like last version where they were all different. They're all alike. So if you want a full review, watch the review of the international version. But then, like, you know, AT&T or Sprint, you know, they've got LTE or, you know, different sizes in terms of like memory capacity. So there's just little things like that he talks about. But AT&T and Sprint reviews are up right now, and then T-Mobile should be up shortly. So open Q&A. Should I buy the HTC One X or the Galaxy S3 off contract? I kind of want the Galaxy S3 for the better camera and AMOLED screen, but I will have to continue saving because the Galaxy S3 costs more. Well, in my opinion, the Galaxy S3 is the best phone on the market right now. So I'm just going to say that. It just is. That being said, the One X isn't much worse. In fact, if you don't like Samsung, you don't like TouchWiz, then the HTC One X is the best phone, because a lot of the Galaxy S3, that I like is, the TouchWiz, or some of the software features that Samsung has added. I like those. So, in a lot of ways, you could say the One X and the Galaxy S3 are equal. However, I think the Galaxy S3 just has a little bit that pushed over the edge. So, yeah, I'd say the Galaxy S3, but if you don't want to save, you don't want to wait, the One X is also awesome. There's some people who would say that it's the best phone. So, hopefully that helped. Question, where can I find graphical representations of the Windows keyboard layouts? Which one are you talking about? Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows Phone? I'm not sure what you mean. OMG, Sydney, I have the Droid Razr and the ICS update is supposed to come out today, but I don't have it yet. Sometimes I roll it out in stages, so I mean, you'll get it. I'll wait on getting an Android phone until they get the quad-core CPUs to work with LTE. Okay. What is the Android app that you use for your screen to look? I used, oh my gosh. Desktop Visualizer. Desktop Visualizer, and but the thing is, so Desktop Visualizer lets you create pretty much custom widgets, custom sizes, but you have to download the icon pack to make it look the way you want it to, or you have to design your own. So it's really like a two-part thing. But Desktop Visualizer is where you start, and then this is just an icon pack that I downloaded. It's 45 Metro something. If you just look up like Metro UI Android Desktop Visualizer, you'll probably find it. It's pretty good, except for the discoloration. I don't know what's wrong with that. Thanks. You're welcome. I actually talked to a Microsoft employee. He said that Windows Phone programs will eventually have to be rewritten for Metro. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I have a feeling that's what Microsoft wants to do eventually, but it is going to take some time, and so, we'll have to see. Still rocking the 1S. Yeah, it's, I told the whole story, I explained all of that, so it's a really good phone. I mean, it's one of the best phones. On my top 5 list for the best phones on PhoneDog's official smartphone rankings, I have the 1S as number 5, so it's a pretty awesome phone. Miami Heat. Yeah, I know the Heat won the championship. I actually watched it. It was pretty cool. I've always, well, obviously I'm a Mavericks fan, so I've always hated the Miami Heat. Well, just like anyone else, you don't have to be a Mavericks fan. Everybody hates the Miami Heat. And I've just had it in for LeBron, because just the whole thing, the way it happened, I've always not always hated him, but just really disliked him. So I didn't want them to win. I was really rooting for the Thunder, because, the Heat, they're the bad guys, they're the villains. But, I really appreciate the way that LeBron has handled everything. First of all, he's come up big. He's averaged like 30 points, 10 rebounds, almost a triple-double. He's been huge through the whole game, even in the fourth quarter. He's really played very well. He's been clutch. He just has. So, and that's the way it should be. He completely deserves a championship, because he's been the best player in these playoffs in the league this year. So that I was like, you know what? He's done it. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way he's supposed to win, and he won. So I'm actually really happy for him. But also just the way he's handled himself, not talking a bunch of crap, not getting in people's faces and all that junk. He's just playing, which I really appreciate. So yeah, I watched it. It was pretty cool. It's always cool to see somebody win a championship, because it's like the happiest day of their life. Okay, come back to me when LeBron wins 7 championships and we can talk. Oh yeah, I know. I don't think people realize, I don't think he realized how difficult it is to win 1 championship, and to expect him to win 7 or however many he said. I don't think that's going to happen, but just 1 is enough, really. I mean, that's all you need in order to have validation. Microsoft believes it's the future. Awesome. Um, oh, you know what? Facebook. I forgot about Facebook. Let me check Facebook, see if there's any comments there. The RT also starts with 32 gigabytes, not 16 gigabytes. Right, yeah, that's a good point too. When I was talking about the Microsoft Surface tablet with the price, that's a good point. The RT also starts at 32 gigabytes, so more memory, more price. That's a good point. It's time for the New Jersey Nets. Well, if they keep, it's actually the Brooklyn Nets, but if they keep Darren Williams, then obviously Darren Williams is not going to cut it alone. Obviously, we've already seen that. You got to put a competitive team around him, but I think it's a given that if they keep Darren Williams, it's because they have put a competitive team around him and they have good players. So obviously, I'm hoping he comes to Dallas, but we'll have to see. I'm just so glad that the playoffs are over. We can move on. The draft is on the 28th. Free agency starts on July 1st. Darren Williams wants to know where he's going within like 5 days, so it should be over pretty quickly. I live in the UK. I have no clue what she talks about, but I know it's about sports. I'm really sorry I talk about sports on the show, but I love sport. I love basketball. I watch it all the time. My husband and I, we talk about it all the time. So you bring it up. And what really annoys me, though, is whenever I tweet about it on my Twitter account, when I tweet about a basketball game or whatever, I'll just, make a comment. And people, they're like, you're supposed to tweet about phones. Or, oh, since when did LeBron James get a cell phone? Like, it has to be. I'm like, dude, this is my Twitter account. I can tweet about whatever the heck I want to. If you don't like that, then unfollow me. That's what really annoys me, but that's a different story. Okay. Do you like the Galaxy S3 Nature UX? Yeah, it's kind of like a gimmick. That's not really a thing I consider. I like the idea that they actually put some time into it, but for me, it's really just everything else. B-ball is great. Yes. What's your Twitter name? It's at phonedog_Sydney. So I can follow you. Oh, yeah. Did you see the Sprint ad? No, I haven't seen the Sprint ad. What about that S3 that melted? Oh, I haven't heard about that. I'll have to Google that. What's your favorite Pokemon? I don't know. I played Pokemon Red whenever I had Pokemon. That was in like 5th grade. So that was my favorite. Jigglypuff, I think, was one of my favorites. But there was another one. Not Clefairy, but the other one. There was another like really cute Pokemon. I can't remember the name. Oh my gosh, that's gonna kill me. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try to remember. Sydney, favorite movie that's coming soon? The Dark Knight Rises. We're going to see a midnight showing of that. We're going to do a watch party. We're going to get some of our friends together. We're going to watch Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and then we're going to go to a midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises. I know. It's going to be awesome. Why don't you host a 30-minute sports show? I'd watch. What can we call the show? I would if I had extra time to spare, but I don't know. I think that'd be a little weird. Ninetales? No, I do like Ninetales, but Honda or Toyota. I don't know why it's so hard to say. I guess Honda. I don't really like Toyotas. I have a Toyota. I have a Toyota RAV4. But I don't really like Toyotas. The only reason I have one is because my husband was like, Toyota or death. And I was like, okay. So I picked the one that I liked the most, but I don't really like it that much. It's the one I dislike the least. But I kind of like Hondas more, but they're also more expensive, so. Amazing Spider-Man, yeah, I do want to see that too. One feature you asked for Windows Phone 8 that Microsoft didn't announce. Windows Phone, a feature. Notification. I love the notification system, but I wish there was a way to see, um, like a list of your notifications. Like I have live tiles for emails and messages and Twitter, and so I can see all of them like right there on my live tiles. Um, so I guess it's not really necessary at all, but um, I don't know. So yeah, I guess now that I think about that, it's not really necessary at all. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. What's your favorite color? Probably purple. I have the iPhone 4S on Sprint. Do you think the iPhone 5 will be a great phone, or should I just part with Apple and get the HTC Evo 4G LTE? Well, I prefer Android over iOS, but that's personal. That's, you know, the iPhone 5 should be a great phone. I mean, should have a larger display, new hardware design, better camera. Um, it's going to be a great phone. Will it be better than the Evo? Really, again, it just depends on which one you like, iOS or Android, and I can't really answer that for you. Because really they're probably both going to be equal in a lot of ways, so that's kind of up to you which OS you prefer. Um, do you think Apple does not have widgets in live tiles like Google and Microsoft because those companies have a patent on them? I'm not sure. I don't know. Oh, right, yeah. iPhone 5 should also be an LTE device. I forgot about that. But the Evo 4G LTE is an LTE device too, so. Can I ask what bandwidth and resolution settings you're using in Producer? Uh, let me see. Let me see if I can get to that from... I'm afraid I'm gonna mess up. I'm afraid I'm gonna mess up the video while I'm streaming, so I'd have to look at it like while I'm not live. Sydney, do you have a Toyota RAV4 4x4? I think so. Yeah, I think that's what we have. Yeah. Sydney, what do you think of Verizon's new share everything plans? I mean, like, it's not a big deal to me, but just because of my lifestyle. I work at home, so I'm near a Wi-Fi hotspot like all day. So I really don't use any data. So shared data is really not a big deal to me. The prices, for some people, it'll be more expensive, but Verizon is expensive anyway. So I'm not on Verizon, so that's my thing. Buy a purple Lumia 900. I could. Do you recommend the Xperia Mini Pro now that it has ice cream sandwich? I wanted to buy it for my mom. Yeah, I mean it's a niche device. It's small, cute, but the keyboard is great. You'd be surprised. You really be surprised. The keyboard is actually really great for such a small phone. Um, so yeah, I mean it's a good phone. Sure, if you can get a good price on it, I'd say. I love bananas. Awesome. Unlimited voice is ridiculous. Yeah, I never use voice. Like I hardly ever call people. I always text. Or, I mean, I don't really talk to a lot of people. I don't really have any friends. That's not true. I have friends. I'm just kidding. Check the time. Oh, yeah, it's only a minute. I don't really have anything else to do anyway. Sydney, can you recommend a good laptop around $700? Personally, my three favorite laptop brands, I'd say HP, Dell, and Lenovo. Lenovo makes really great laptops, but they're not the most attractive laptops. But they are the best. They're generally just hands down the best laptops. But they're kind of more industrial. They're kind of like hardcore, just black. They're not very attractive, so some people don't like that. Dell makes pretty good, just like basic, boom, here it is. It's a good laptop. Just get it and whatever. Don't worry about it. HP makes pretty good media laptops if you want, like, if you do gaming or, if you want a lot of music capabilities, you know, like some pretty good media laptops, and they also look pretty hot too. HP has some pretty awesome designs. So that's, you know, that's what I would say. As far as like models, like off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you right now, but if that helps. Lenovo will be over. There's some Lenovo laptops that are inexpensive. You know, CNET does really good lists. They have really great lists for like the top 5, whatever you want. Budget laptops, gaming laptops, cameras, DSLRs, phones. They've got like the best top 5 lists. So go to CNET and they'll have a great list for you. Sydney, what do you order at Starbucks? I get a tall decaf, 3 raw sugar, stirred no foam latte. Yeah. MacBook Air versus Pro for a student. I mean, I would just go Pro. It's like, what, you know, $200 more, which I know is not, you know, $2. I know it's $200, but I mean, it's worth it in my opinion. HP is my favorite. Sweet. Sydney, you and Aaron should hook up even though you're married. Thank you. Have you ever played Super Smash Brothers? I don't think so. Vio. Yeah, Sony Vio laptops are great, but under $700, which is what he was asking. I don't know if that would work. Brings up my question on Twitter. No microwave. Yeah, I don't have a microwave. Yeah. You know, we're not even on topic right now, so I'm just going to stop, okay? Because this is like, we're not even talking about phones anymore. So, that's the show. Thanks, guys, for watching. Sorry we went overtime a little bit, but I guess I'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. On our Ustream channel, we'll have plenty more to talk about. And in the meantime, if you miss any of this, check out the recording. I'll have it up on YouTube, hopefully sometime this week. And if I missed your question, you know, leave it there on YouTube. I read those comments. I try to respond to some of them if I can. But other than that, I will see you guys later. Bye.